Hi, I did a video before about glazing an abstract. So this was an acrylic abstract which I glazed with oils, and this is something like it but in darker oils. So I'm going to continue on with this one for you. This has got a matte glaze on it. It's got no Damar varnish on it at all, but we'll maybe add some Damar varnish to it as well. I love the richness of this one, but I'm going to try and keep the other one a bit lighter, a bit more colourful, and not go quite so dark. This was one of the ones that I started first of all, and I loved the black on it, so I got a bit carried away with the black. But I shall try and keep the last one, or this one that I'm doing now, much more light and much more fun. In the first video of this series I used turpentine with the oils, but this time I've got a pure odourless solvent, which is much better for your chest. I've added a bit of linseed oil so that there's a slight sheen to it, so there's more of a depth to the glaze rather than the very matte finish of the pure solvent, the turpentine or the odourless solvent. And last time I had mixed the colours in the solvent first so that I had quantity and was able to play with it. This time I'm going to mess with it, or I feel a bit more like experimenting. And I'm also going to really show you how the different colours will really affect it. So I'm going to go a bit berserk. I'm in the mood for experimenting. Last time I really glazed in blues and reds and oranges, and this time I'm sticking to the reds and the oranges. I've got a couple of oranges, I think that's alizarin crimson, some raw sienna and some lemon yellow. I love raw sienna and lemon yellow mixed together. So I'm just gonna have a go. So we'll just see what it does to the colours and see how you can use it. So all the colours underneath are set solid. I did this at least 2 months ago, but that colour added to it gives it a really intense green. I'm going to go with it just for the fun of it for the moment. Right, I've got a sort of alizarin crimson and the raw sienna there. It's just interesting to see what it does. Because I haven't done this much myself, I can't predict what it's going to do. And of course it looks so different when it's dry as well. You build up on your experience of it over a period of time. But even so, look, already there's some really, really beautiful oozing glazes coming through. And of course this is only one more layer. I could go over this a dark blue or a brown in the future and keep working on it, keep developing its depths. They're just so amazing. I mean, that red and that alizarin crimson and orange is beautiful. Shame you can't really see it. And the other thing is, use different tools to blend it in different ways. So I use a cloth and I use soft brushes, and as you saw I use my hands. And then you always have to keep looking at it as a whole. The whole thing has to work together, doesn't it? And I really don't have a plan with this one. I was going to just let us both enjoy it, all enjoy it, and enjoy what happens with it, because I really don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I did like the sort of pure blue colour from down here before, and I suppose I did like the fact that it gradated from these lovely oranges down to the blue, but I'm going to keep going with these sorts of colours just to see what happens. I'm not too happy with the green that's come out through there. Although I should really leave it, let it dry, and then see what happens when I add a blue again in the future. So I think I'm going to do that. You know, sort of enjoy it a bit more. You see, I can always even use white in the future to bring the colour back round again. The alizarin crimson and the blue make a lovely browny grey. Quite like it going quite red, so I'm going to go red on this one. Oh, and that's a lovely thing that happens. This is a really beautiful thing that happens when the pigment gets caught in the corners and grooves of the shapes and textures. And you can really use that to your advantage, because if you leave it to dry, the edges will remain fairly solid. But I'm messing too much at the moment. Oh, and look, that's just lovely. And look, this bit here is lovely. There's some really lovely colours in there. And the blue's got caught in the edges in the first coat. And it's just so lovely how you can develop it, how you can build up on it. I feel I need some blues in this. Let me just keep going, and then I'll get a blue glaze. And again, can you see the intensity of the colours that are developing here because of the glaze that's oranges, similar to this lovely orange here, then with the alizarin crimson on top. You just get these beautiful, beautiful colours coming through. It almost feels like it's got nothing to do with me. This all really changes and develops when it dries, so you have to be really careful not to get carried away and not to try and complete it at this point either. Like, really give it a couple of days for this coat to settle in and change its tonal values as it dries, because of course it's all wet and shiny like a wet pebble from the sea. Am I in your way? I think this time I'm not going to go with the easy option of going dark. I'm going to let the colours play a bit more. And see what being brave with the colours does. I am absolutely in love with the effect that yellow has on raw siennas and browns. There's a real green hue coming out here that can be taken right back again with the blue afterwards, but I do really want some of the white from underneath giving it some depth as well. So there's sort of like two layers, the white and then the green. It will sort of swim a bit in the watery look of it all. So I'll leave that. And I really love this colour up here, so I'm going to go for that a bit more. It is that an orange and an alizarin crimson. And it's alizarin crimson over that beautiful base orange as well that we did in the first place. Don't want it to go to alizarin crimson. I want it to keep that funny orange glow that it has. And it's not really due to orange as such. It's more due to that mix of orange and red that was on there in the first place. So I'm going to try and get it in the third layer. So put a bit of orange on, and then I will expect the alizarin crimson to affect it in the third layer of glazing. There's a white bit there, or a bit where the guess of the primer is coming through, so I'm going to leave that for the last coat, the third coat, again to give it some sort of swimming depths. It needs some depths in here, so I'm just going to scrape some orange through so that I can mess with that when the third layer goes on. It doesn't need much more again. I might alizarin crimson here, just because it'll add depths again. And I often paint around the edges because it has the effect of making the image look like larger than the canvas, like it swims off when it wants to. I'm just blending in the colours so that they sit nicely, using almost pure mixture of the solvent and of linseed oil. And I'm fretting about the sides a bit there. That's nice. Because this has been hanging around in the studio, there's a couple of bits where I've splashed paint on it. So I'm going to try and put a bit of blue on it. And this, again, this put when you add something like that yellow, it's almost like there's another dimension to the picture, isn't there, with that colour, and it makes it odd at this point, but I'm going to see what happens because it is actually quite interesting. I'm going to see what happens as it dries because that is strangely nice, sort of strangely doing something. Right. I keep saying that, sorry. I keep thinking I've finished, I'm going to stop. And I don't, beg your pardon. Oops. No, I like that. Well, that might go dull down. I've taken the white out of that with the yellow, but it might dull back again, so I'm going to leave it. Right, I'm going to leave that and let it dry. I thought I would finish this on this one, but it's going to take another coat. Okay, thank you. I'd got myself out quite a lot of pigment, but I've hardly used any of it. It was very thin, very diluted down with the solvent and the linseed oil already mixed in my little tubs on the side of the palette. That is my blending brush. I just get them from the works. A cloth to help blend it, some nice brushes and some rubber gloves so that you don't get covered in oils. This is the end of the second part of the Glazing the Abstract series. I'm going to do one more because I think this needs some more glazing on it, and I'll tell you about Daymar varnish and things like that at the end, which would be the varnishing process to give it that shiny, wet look, a glazed look. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe to the video channel because I'm going to be doing tutorials, tips and discussions with other artists. And if there's anything you'd like me to talk about or anything you would like to know about, please put it in the messages below and I'll try and answer it for you. Thanks very much and see you again. All the best.